Hi guys, so this is my May wrap up. Um, I've read a total of 11 books this month, Jordan, which is surprisingly good because I only set out to read 7. Um, I'm really sorry about my voice and my nose, by the way. I'm completely dying from a cold right now, so yeah, sorry. But yeah, so 11 books this May, which I thought was pretty good considering. So, first book, number 1 book that I read this month was Wuthering Heights, and I don't have my physical copy with me today because I lent it to a friend because I thought she needed to feel the love of Heathcliff and Cathy. If you don't know what the story's about, which would be quite surprising because it's one of the greatest love stories of all time, it's about a young girl and a gentleman called Heathcliff. My hair doesn't know what it wants to do. Heathcliff and Cathy, and it's them falling in love and in and out of love, and their journey of love, basically, and what happens when everything goes wrong. I gave this book 8 out of 10. If you want to read a full review, I will link my blog below. But I gave it 8 out of 10 because I hated Lockwood and how rude he was, basically. Ooh, excuse me. I found him to be irritating at the best of times, and he kind of detracted from the story a little bit. So, yeah, he does not get my vote for best character. In fact, I thought he was pretty useless. So, the second book that I read this month, Jordan, was Reckless by Cornelia Funk. Um, It's about a young man called Jacob Reckless, who finds a alternate world in his father's mirror in his study. He goes through and starts spending more and more of his life here, and then his brother decides to follow him, and a whole load of crap happens, basically. I gave this book 6 out of 10. I only really read it because my friend at uni said that as long as I could get past this book, that the series got really good. But after this book, I don't particularly know whether I want to continue the series. But I might give it a go because I think otherwise Alex would hunt me down and shoot me. So yeah, 6 out of 10. And like I said, all of the books I'm talking about have a full review on my blog, which I'll link down below. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for Reckless by Cornelia Funk. The third book I read this month, I don't actually have a physical copy of it either, was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Gave this book 10 out of 10. It's about a young boy whose mother is dying of cancer, and it's his mental breakdown, well, not breakdown, mental journey about accepting that his mother's dying, and it is fantastically written, which is why I got a 10 out of 10. I love this book more than I can possibly say. So if it's not on your to be read pile or you've not read it, then it should be on your to be read pile because it's absolutely fantastic. The writing style's brilliant, and it really does. Patrick Ness has surpassed himself, really has. So 10 out of 10 for Patrick Ness's A Monster Calls. Fourth book I read this month was The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. And can we just have a moment of like utter appreciation for how pretty this cover is. Like, look at that font and how shiny it is. It's fantastic. So I gave this book, well, it turned out to be a reread because I'm guessing that the first time I read it, it didn't really have like an impact on me. But yeah, this is a reread. It's about a boy called Holden Caulfield, I think his name is, um, who gets thrown out of his um, all boys school, and it's basically the story of what he did like the 3 days following or 2 days following, and how he dealt with and how he dealt with being thrown out and the fact that he couldn't go home. I really like the voice, which is why it's gotten 7 out of 10. But in all, the story was a little bit slow for me, which is why it didn't get higher like score. But if you're looking for like a super quick and easy read, I would definitely give this one a go. It is one of those books that you could probably fly through in a day. The fifth book that I read this month, which I don't actually have a copy of either because I lent it to my sister because it is one of those fantastic books, is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell or Roll. I'm probably saying that wrong. I adored this book. I thought the characters were fantastic. It got another 10 out of 10 for me. I just love this book. I could have reread it and read it and read it over and over again and not been bored. It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Well done. Textbook I read this month was Clockwork Angel, and it is the first book in the Infernal Devices series. And one of the few people on the internet that don't like the Mortal Instruments. Well, it's not that I don't like it, I'm just not overly fond of the characters. I hate Clary. She annoys me beyond compare. So, I thought I'd give these a go because they're supposed to be a little bit better. It's about a young girl called Tessa who gets off the steamboat in London and finds herself thrown into the Shadowhunt world. It's set in Victorian London, and I do think that that timeline gives a lot better, what's it called? Like a lot better atmosphere to the piece. I gave this book 8 out of 10, and I will definitely be carrying on the series. Yay, Cassandra Clare, you actually did something right. So, the 7th book I read, which was supposed to be my last book, was Kate Moss's Sepulchre. I read this book because I read the first one, Labyrinth, and it follows two people called Leonie in Victorian France, and then it follows Meredith Martin, who's doing like research in France in modern day. I gave this book 6 out of 10. It was super hard to read, and it was super hard to get into the story and stay in the story. I find this with all of Kate Moss's books. I read Labyrinth and I've had the same kind of problem with it. It's not that it's boring and it's not that it's a bad book. You just have to fight yourself to read it. I do think that it's a bit on the long side and it's a bit intimidating, but it got 6 out of 10, so it did fairly well. Yay for Kate Moss, I guess. The 8th book that I read this month was Anna Karenina. I don't actually know how you say her name, so I've made like a personal joke out of it, which is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. It follows the story of Anna and her husband and the fact that how their relationship changes and the drama that happens when Vronsky walks into their lives. Despite it being a namesake book, there is an awful lot going on around Anna and like particularly around her family and her family's friends and things like that. So I gave this book 9 out of 10. I adored this book. This is like my favourite read of 2014 at the minute. I can't even express words of love for this book. The only thing that didn't give me 10 out of 10 was because of how much description there is. I found it kind of at some point tedious to read, but then what won me back was the story and the tragedy of the story. If you haven't read it, don't be intimidated. I mean, this edition is 800 pages, but so worth the time. I read this in 3 days. Like, that's how much I loved it. I think it was 3 or 4 days. I read this, like, I adored it. It was brilliant. Me and it, best friends. The 9th book that I read this month was J.K. Rowling's The Casual Vacancy. I've had this book since it came out. I actually pre-ordered it before it came out. I got to like page 100, I think, when it first came out. And with uni and everything, I kind of gave up reading it. I gave this book 6 out of 10. J.K. Rowling has certainly proved that she can create brilliant characters in and outside of Hogwarts. I think that the characters are fantastically done. I think the town is well developed, but the story just wasn't there for me. I found it tedious to read at times, and I felt that the ending left more answers or more questions unanswered than answered, and I thought that it was a complete waste of my time. Basically, I will definitely be keep sticking to Harry Potter. However, I will be trying to read the, I think, her Robert Galbraith books. I want to see if she could deal with characters in that as well. So 6 out of 10 for Casual Vacancy. Not great, really, compared to her success with Harry, but then I don't know whether anything could possibly live up to Harry Potter in my mind, so it's a lose-lose, really, isn't it? The 10th book I read this month was Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Eliasayans. I have no idea how to say his name. I've completely butchered that, but this book is brilliant. I gave it 9 out of 10. Like, the love and, oh, like, oh, if I could marry this book, I would. 9 out of 10. The only reason I gave it 9 was because I felt that the ending was a little bit rushed, but oh, the ending is so satisfactory. Like, oh, and like you could see the thing that like really got me with this book was that you knew how it was ending before the characters did, and like you could see their feelings, like you were reading about their feelings, and like you knew how it was going to end before they did, and I love it. Love it. Go out and buy it and read it, please. And the last book that I have read this month was Terry Pratchett's A Blink of the Screen, collected short fiction. I've only read like 200 pages of this because I haven't finished the Discworld series yet, so I didn't want to have any spoilers. So yeah, there will be a second review of this, but at the moment I gave 8 out of 10, and the only reason I did get 10 out of 10 was because of some of the stories were to my taste, but the anecdote at the start of each story was fantastic, and if you haven't read anything of Terry Pratchett, you should go out and buy something, because he is absolutely fantastic, and he's so sarcastic, and he's so funny and ironic. It's brilliant. Like, it's brilliantly done. So, so good. So, Terry Pratchett, guys, that's my May wrap-up. If you want to see a proper review of each piece, then go and see my blog down below, and I will be back soon with a June TBR. See you later. Bye.